Hello, my name is Kaana Smith. I've been in the financial planning industry for a little over 23 years. And probably around 3 or 4 years into that tenure, I met my first wholesaler, at least had the chance to have a pretty in-depth conversation with a wholesaler. I remember after we were done, I knew that that's what I wanted to be. Like, that's the job I want. That's what I need to be. So, being who I am, when I really, really want something, I get laser focused and I figure out a way to get it. And I was fortunate because I got the opportunity to be an external wholesaler a few years later. And I was so excited to get the job. And for those folks who don't know much about wholesaling, it is not for the faint of heart, right? It's a lot of hard work, long days, long nights. You're living out of a suitcase, surprisingly solitary and sometimes lonely life. But all of this I expected. I did my research. I expected this and I wasn't surprised by it. And for the most part, I loved every minute of being a wholesaler. The one thing that I wasn't prepared for, and the one thing I didn't expect, is the world's reaction to me being a wholesaler. That I wasn't expecting. You see, within the financial planning industry, the wholesaling community is fairly small. There's not that many people that either have carried the bag or are carrying the bag. It's just not a big group. If you're a Black wholesaler, it's even smaller. And if you're a Black woman out there wholesaling, it's even smaller. So whether I was walking into an advisor's office, walking on stage to deliver a presentation on a product, sometimes people's reaction was less than nice. Sometimes it wasn't favorable. It could be outright hostile at times. And there are plenty of folks, colleagues of mine, friends of mine that would have thrived under that type of pressure. At that time, I was not that kind of person. So the more those instances happen, the more I started to question whether I should be out there, right? Started to wonder, God, am I good enough? Should I be here? And then those questions started to turn into beliefs. I started to believe that I wasn't good enough, that I didn't belong where I found myself, right? That I shouldn't be out there as a wholesaler. And I'm sure all of us have heard those quotes, right? That if you believe something hard enough, long enough, you're going to make it a reality. And unfortunately, I made it a reality that I was no longer an external wholesaler. Luckily, I stayed within the industry and I met Merlone at a sales conference a few years later. In fact, it probably had been 5 or 6 years since I'd actually carried the bag and had been a wholesaler. I was in a different role, but I certainly wasn't a wholesaler. And I still, unfortunately, believed that I never should have been a wholesaler. I still, at that time, believed that I wasn't good enough. I shouldn't have been out there. And like I said, I met Merlone and we immediately clicked. One reason is we were the only two Black people there representing companies at the sales conference. So we bonded over that. But we also bonded over the fact that we both had experience being wholesalers. Merlone at that time was an external wholesaler. I had been a wholesaler. And we just marveled at the fact that here we are, two Black folks, and we wholesaled, right? And then we started talking about, or wondering how many Black wholesalers do we know and have in common as friends and colleagues. And then we started wondering how nice it would be if we could get all of them together, because you and I are having this amazing conversation. So imagine if we get all of our Black wholesaler friends together and meet and talk about the business, swap and share stories, how cool that would be. For me, that was the end of the conversation, but not for Merlone. The reason why you have AWD, the reason why we have the Association of Wholesaling Diversity is because Merlone. It's because of him. He took an idea, a night of wishful thinking, he turned it into an actual reality, right? A fellowship, a support group, an organization created by Black wholesalers for Black wholesalers. And yes, we talk about wholesaling, you bet. But more importantly, we talk about the unique perspective that we bring as Black wholesalers to the business, right? Wholesaling while Black. And what I love about the organization is the fact that I can be myself, right? I can share my concerns, my fears, my worries, and not be met with judgment or doubt, but be met with compassion, understanding. And I'm not afraid to ask for help here, right? Because I have a resource and people that are willing and able to give me that kind of help. Some of the best salespeople that I've seen in my 23 years in the industry, right here, they are now at AWD and they're now my own resource. So I think the question was, how has being a member of AWD changed me? Well, I no longer believe that I don't deserve to be out here. I believe now that I deserve, that I belong anywhere I find myself. And if that's as a wholesaler, I belong out here as a wholesaler. And more importantly, I always did belong out there. And because of the fellowship and the support that I received at AWD, I believe that now. I will always believe that now. And I am so excited about what the future holds for this organization and the monumental impact that I believe it has the potential of making in the wholesaling industry. And I am especially excited for my Black women out there, either wanting and aspiring to be wholesalers or the ones that are out there carrying the bag, wholesaling today. They will never, as long as AWD is around, they will never, ever feel alone out there. They were always going to be appreciated, loved, and supported. And they're going to have a chorus of voices, mine probably the loudest, out there reminding them each and every day that they belong exactly where they find themselves. And that's out there being a wholesaler. So to AWD, I thank you. I'm so grateful for everything that you've done for me, and for Malone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for everything that you have done and will do with this organization. I'm excited about it.